Thanks, Councillor Dominato. That's all of your questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming and for staying. The next speaker is David Chen, representing the PAC at Lord Strathcona Elementary School. Mr. Chen, I'm sure you know.
I've been here before, and you all know me.
5 minutes, timer to your right.
All
Go
right.
ahead.
Super. Thank you. Madam Chair, Your Worship, and honored council members, thank you for delaying your dinner and giving me the privilege of taking a moment of your time to speak. As all of you know, I'm David Chen. I'm a financial planner by trade. I'm the former Strathcona Elementary PAC chair, former pro-Vancouver mayoral candidate, and always a concerned citizen. From 9:30 a.m., there's been lots of talk about the return on investment. May I remind that all of you here, we all met on the campaign trail, and all of you talked about affordable housing. Understand that affordable housing has two components. One is cost, and the other is income. The reason why I bring up income is there's a direct correlation between future income and the level of education. A multitude of studies showed that if you have a professional degree or a trade license, you will make up to 6 times more income than somebody without that. There are also other studies that show that there is a significant impact to educational success when students are hungry. Malnutrition in children can lead to low attention in classrooms, increases incidences of illness leading to school absences, and incidences of depression, anxiety, and withdrawal all increase. All these factors obstruct children's abilities to focus in school, and school food programs not only ensure food security, but they also ensure a minimum level of nutrition. Councillor Fry, myself, we live in a community with a large number of marginalized families, and I can tell you when we go to the food stores and I watch them buy their allotment of food, how much junk food is in there, because that's what's affordable. The proposed cuts to the food program funding in our schools is counterproductive to both your desire and our desires to see educational success from our children and also resolving the housing crisis, especially if these funding cuts have the propensity to lower educational success and thereby lower future average household incomes. While Strathcona for now may not be affected as a Tier 1 school, I'm here to advocate for all the needy children, whether overtly obvious or not. Understand, in my role as a financial planner, I run into a lot of middle-class families who are on the verge of financial collapse. They will not use social services out of embarrassment, variety of reasons. And when we do Tier 1 calculations, it's based on the social services index ratio. If those families are not using social services, they will not show up on that. I think it was a recent RBC article that stated that the average middle-class family has $200 to spare at the end of a month. That's not a lot of margin of safety. So that being said, knowing that the social services index ratio is being used to calculate Tier 1 status, how many of you are aware that Strathcona is facing a future merger with Henry Hudson's French immersion program? Those students are primarily from the downtown and Kitsilano area. Once they enter our system, they will skew the SSI ratio calculations. Now, we asked this question at the last PAC meeting with the BSB trustees, and they could not guarantee that we would maintain Tier 1 status. So this becomes a concern because we're not the only school that's going to go through this. With all these seismic upgrades, this is going to be a regular pattern of shifting and changing SSI calculations. So focusing on what we need to do, what I would say is this. You are our elected governance officials. Strike down any discussions of cutting food program budgets, support maintaining the existing at the very least, but increasing, as Councillor Weeb has pointed out, costs have increased. And part of it's the city's fault with the triple nets. All your corporations are paying more. Everything costs more. Now, talking to some of the other suggestions that have been placed on the deck as well, I would say that let's not act like divorced parents. You are alienating the vulnerable by saying, whose responsibility is this? Make a decision, move forward with it. I would say please review the SSI ratio eligibility and also include medium incomes so that you make sure that you're capturing people that are vulnerable that aren't showing up on that. And when it comes to corporate, this is the problem we've experienced on two fronts. One is make sure that the programs dovetail. We had a sudden cutoff of a program from RBC for a dance program at Strathcona, which put the PAC in a bit of a bind. So if you have corporate or philanthropic donors, make sure that there is a dovetailer to fit in afterwards. Don't leave us hanging. I would also say that, we do need to make sure that this is in line with everything else that makes sense within the school system. And I see I'm running out of time. Thank you.
You have questions from Councillor Wiebe. Councillor Wiebe, questions, Speaker?
Yeah, you talk about not reducing the funding, but we're obviously, when the program started in 2015, it was only for 258 kids, which wasn't to begin with, and you said certain schools fall off.
Yes.
Yeah, there's definitely kids in that class.
Yes.
Just because their income in that area has gone up, we lose a couple kids. So what do you think is the best move forward if this motion, obviously returning to the 160 is not enough?
Yes.
So what do you see works from your preview as a PAC? Like, what are the suggestions you have? Because we are losing, schools are changing all the time, and we are losing kids.
Absolutely. And that's why I was saying with the SSI ratio calculations, you need to include the median incomes reflective of the true cost of living.
But even if you do that, there will be a school will get up and 4 kids will be there. Even in the richest neighborhoods, we have kids that need
Except
this program.
within the existing calculation, they have an adjustment factor which says that you do the SSI ratio calculation plus the actual number in the school. So what that means is if you have a low number in the school, a high ratio, that will not necessarily outrank a school that has a low number, a low ratio, but a high number of students. So there are already systems in place, but they're just, in my opinion, not adequate because they're not reflecting the true cost of living in the city.
Okay. I think this is a bigger question because I think we do have a solution. I mean, we need to come up with a
Is this
solution.
a question,
Thanks.
Councillor Wiebe? Thanks. Sorry, I'm trying to keep us very focused to questions. And that's all the questions for you. Thank you very much, Mr. Chen.